here's the thing. You can't influence somebody you judge.
Right.
Exactly. If I came in and started pointing out all your flaws and all the things that were going wrong with you and all your mishaps and all the times you dropped the ball on something, would you want to listen to me?
No, especially if that's the first thing that you did, right?
Right? Exactly. So I think the big one, and I forget who said that, but you can't influence somebody that you judge. So if we're going to influence ourselves to become more, right? If we're going to influence ourselves to do some things that we know we need to be doing that we're not doing, we need to influence ourselves to do some of the things that are uncomfortable or do some of the things that we're avoiding. Right. We got to stop judging ourselves so much.
You are listening to the Real Estate Growth Hackers Show.
All righty, welcome to the Real Estate Growth Hackers live show. My name is Zach Hammer, and in today's episode, we have Dustin Runyon. So we've got some exciting stuff. I'm going to tell you a bit about who Dustin is. So Dustin is a servant speaker, results strategist, and coach. He's the president of the Only Orchids Charity Group, the CEO of Keller Williams Arizona Living Realty, with locations in Lake Havasu City, Bullhead City, and Kingman, Arizona. Since taking this role, KW has become the #1 real estate company in his area, selling 2 out of every 3 homes in Kingman and 1 out of every 5 homes in Lake Havasu. Those are some powerful numbers. Dustin has also launched, and Dustin, you'll have to tell me when I bring you back on if this is DARE or DARE, how you actually pronounce this, but his coaching organization called DARE Coaching and Consulting, where he gets to help companies and individuals settle for nothing but the best in their business and life. Dustin and his mother, Vicky, also have a rental and property management company called Arizona Living Rentals and Property Management. They have 2 locations, over 800 doors. As well, he has Arizona Living School of Real Estate, providing licensing, continuing education, and broker licensing. And guys, if it seems like I'm just saying a bunch of stuff, the reason I want to make sure to mention this stuff to you and why I'm even talking about this is to make sure you know Dustin has some good information. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of value that he can bring and to help you improve your business. So if it sounds like I'm just rambling on, there is a great point for this. So you got to know that. Dustin also has a passion for community, personal growth, and leadership. And a great quote from Dustin, I think summarizes his outlook awesomely, is be grateful, love hard, and live a life you can truly be proud of. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Dustin in. Go ahead and drop some likes, drop some love. Welcome, Dustin. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Zach? How you doing, my friend?
How's
I'm
it
excited.
going?
Fired up.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Not in terms of intros that I've had to do. I don't think I've ever had so many things that I could list.
I probably gave you too much, but I appreciate the love, my friend.
Oh, and it's one of those things. I hopefully, and I'm sure you realize this. It's always this interesting balance whenever you're doing like a show like this, or like speaking on stage, or doing a webinar. There's that balance of, I don't have an ego. I don't need to have people feel great about me. But there is that element where people need to understand exactly what has been achieved, so that they give it the proper weight and attention, and listen to valuable information when it's about to come. So it's powerful, it's useful. So yeah, awesome.
It is my least favorite part, talking about that stuff. So I'm excited about getting in, like what we've done. In any time going up there, I love to just say, if you can just trust me for an hour, I'll deliver some value for you. You you got to do it. You're right. It's part of the gig. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I find to be worthwhile, and by the way, anybody that's watching now, if you missed it, we did have a bit of a conversation in the pre-show. You can go back and watch that later in the replay. If you happen to be listening to this on the podcast, you will want to go to the Facebook page in order to see that pre-show and see some of that early discussion. But really, so diving right into the meat of this content, what are let's give people some context. So I always like to give people context to know who they're listening to, more than just the, this is the list of accomplishments. But what do you do? What kind of do you see your role in this world, in this real estate community?
Yeah. When I got into real estate, I used to be a fan of Kevin Kaufman's before he used to be one of my good friends. I got into the game in short sales back in '07.
Right.
And in doing short sales, I did those for about 4 years, and I never wanted to touch real estate ever again. I went through it was very, I was like, the amount of anxiety that I had every single night and day and seeing people lose everything. It was, for me, I know some people could deal with it. It was tough for me. So I got out of real estate, got into some of the fix and flip stuff with a friend, Kyle Weiloge, who was a mentor of mine for a while. And then I got into real estate back in Lake Havasu, moved back here at Lake Havasu. I was the kind of tech director here, and ended up getting into in the team leader role. And really what happened with that is I was kind of shoved into the lion's den in regards to that. Vicky Runyon, who was my mom at the time, she was stuck in Phoenix and was like, hey, I can't get back. You need to run the team meeting tomorrow. So I did what I knew. I went and bought 15 bottles of champagne, some orange juice. I turned the music up, and we had a team meeting. We cranked that bad boy. So
nice.
But you know what? The first thing that when I came to this office was how we were giving everybody everything they needed to succeed, right? I was 24, 25 at the time. We were giving everybody everything they needed to succeed, yet people weren't succeeding.
Right.
8 out of 10 weren't succeeding. So we're giving them the tools. I look at it this way. We're giving them the paintbrush. We're giving them the easel. We were giving them the art classes, the Michelangelos to look up to. We were giving them the environments surrounded by other painters, and people still weren't painting the pictures, right? So I really, instead of looking at things, I try to go to the root of things instead of looking at the branches of things. I try to go to the root. And what I found is the root is it all goes back to your psychology, and it all goes back to why we're either failing or succeeding, or a business is failing or succeeding, is the psychology of the leader. One, if it's a business, the psychology of the leader. Two, if there's a person who's not succeeding, it's usually not the tools.
Right.
It's usually not the they don't have enough resources. It's usually because they're not resourceful enough, or they have beliefs that are holding them back at some level, or whatnot. So I'm really into finding the truth.
Right.
The real truth, because we tell stories to justify our situation, but I'm into helping people find their truth. And once people find their truth, I think that's where we start. And so for me, to give some context, I'm into getting to the root of every problem, and building it on that. And then obviously strategies are important, but usually majority of the time, with the amount of information that's at our fingertips, you and me are live right now. This isn't, what I mean? This didn't happen 10 years ago, but you can pick up your phone and you got more information in there. Podcasts, the strategy is usually out there. So
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I think people need to understand. There isn't a silver bullet. The reality is, if somebody else is having success with a tactic, it probably works. It's not the tool that's the problem. It's these other issues. It's the mindset. It's the implementation. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about some of this mindset stuff, and see maybe if we can give anybody watching, listening, uncover some of these things that might help them to get to their truth too, right? To see where the real obstacles they're facing are. Okay. So, and by the way, if I ever look distracted, I'm taking notes. So
perfect. Get it going.
I always want to make sure I've got good stuff to reference back to. Okay. So what would you say is kind of the first step for somebody? So when people are coming in and they're in a situation, they're not getting the results that they want. They're not going where they want to. What's kind of your first step in assessment? What starts to uncover the truth?
Yeah, two things that I really find is people are crazy hard on themselves. We become insanely good at beating ourselves up. One, two, we judge ourselves insanely. So I always look at it this way. If you have a relationship with somebody in your life, your wife, I'm sure, or a best friend of some level, or if you've ever had it to where you had, I don't know if you've ever heard the conversation, like a heart to heart of some level.
Right.
Usually they happen at like 2 a.m. after some wine
Right.
for people. But if you can have one absence of the wine, that's preferred. But what happens is people at some level, somewhere in somebody's life, this has happened. This person has gone and they have let these emotions out in their life.
Right.
And what they've done is they've dropped their wall and they've let these emotions out. And what somebody did is they came along and they stomped on them. So
Right.
what do? They retreat, they build a wall. And how much bigger is it this time? This thing is
Twice
like
as big.
twice as big, twice as like deadbolts, locks, codes, thumbprints, like to get into this place. So they build these walls, right?
Right.
And what happens is we don't connect. You know,
Right.
we live in a society today where it's super, super surface level. Hi, what's up? Good to see you. How are you? You know, you look in the grocery store and watch people rocking around. We are not connecting on a high level. I mean, if you disagree with somebody in today's society, you just automatically hate them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're seeing that a lot. Jeez.
Yeah. So and so I don't find a lot of connection when we have situations like that. So what they've done is they've retreated, they've built these walls, right? Well, what happens for connection to really, really, really happen is this, and this is what happens at these heart to hearts and these 2 a.m. heart to hearts with the wine, is somebody has dropped their wall. And this is what you've done, why you connect with your wife or a best friend or whoever in your life where you feel like you can be 100% yourself, truly, is you've dropped your wall, you've let these emotions out. And what they've done is they've been inspired to do the same thing. So they've dropped their wall, they let their emotions out. What happened is you've got these two things that are connecting,
right?
Two emotions that they don't even have to agree with each other, but they're understanding and appreciating.
Right.
And there's no judgment.
Right.
Here's the thing. You can't influence somebody you judge.
Right.
Like, Zach, if I came in and started pointing out all your flaws and all the things that were going wrong with you and all your mishaps and all the times you dropped the ball on something, would you want to listen to me?
No, especially if that's the first thing that you did, right?
Right? Exactly. So I think the big one, and I forget who said that, but you can't influence somebody that you judge. So if we're going to influence ourselves to become more, right? If we're going to influence ourselves to do some things that we know we need to be doing that we're not doing, we need to influence ourselves to do some of the things that are uncomfortable or do some of the things that we're avoiding. We got to stop judging ourselves so much. We got to give ourselves some slack. So the first thing that I try to start with people is we got to stop beating ourselves up, number one. Number two, perfection is the enemy of anything positive. Like emotionally, right? Because none of us, it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
It's never going to be perfect. So, and then we have to, outside of not judging ourselves, we got to learn to stop beating ourselves up so much. It takes so much energy away from what we could be using moving forward and achieving, and or not only achieving, but becoming fulfilled and joyful. We just take the hammer and we just beat ourselves over the head with it, and it's exhausting. So that's where I like to start.
Yeah.
And once we've gotten that clean slate and we've dropped our walls, because the wall is what stops us from getting to the truth.
Right.
Like, you know, for instance, like for a lot of real estate agents that are beginning, or for a lot of real estate agents on teams that are just starting off on teams, lead generation is this big scary thing, right? And so what we do is, the truth is you need to lead generate, but then we build this barrier around the truth. Like, I don't have time. I'm too busy. My parents got a divorce. My kid's sick. Whatever it is, we build this barrier around the truth. And then I always ask people, what's your favorite defense mechanism?
Right.
Like, what's your squid ink? What do you do when somebody starts talking about your truth? You build all these barriers around it to guard it, because the arrow going into the truth is growth. But unfortunately, when that barrier's there, we bounce off of it.
Right.
We bounce off that barrier and we never get to the truth because we're protecting it.
Right.
By all these stories that don't empower us. So,
and it's such an interesting element. There's a book. I wonder if you've read it. The Obstacle is the Way, by Ryan Holiday. And that's one of the things that I've gone back to for myself is that you start to see this, that a lot of the times that when you start to meet that resistance, when you start to get into a point where it does feel uncomfortable, where it doesn't feel right, and where a lot of people either turn back or put up the walls, that's the point where, like, that's where the magic happens. That right there is where the magic happens. And so if it's feeling uncomfortable, if it's feeling off, that's not a signal to turn away. That's a signal to like figure out what's going on, possibly press forward, maybe adapt, but it's not a stop. It's not a stop or put up a wall, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And what happens is it's like the brain is the brain either can be this weight that anchors you down, or it can be this rocket that sends you forward. And
Right.
I think the best way to do that is when you go to get uncomfortable, the brain's like, whoa,
Right.
what is that, right?
Right.
Because this thing's meant to keep us safe. So
Right.
it's just natural that the brain's going to tell you to be careful,
Right.
because that's how we became the largest species. You know, we're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, but we have two things. We have this thing that when something comes that's scary, we run,
Right.
and we stuck together, right? So we
Right.
stuck together, and we protected each other, and we have this fear-based thing up here called the mind.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's not even just running from fear. There's a certain level of our inherent programming that seems to be almost keeping us in a state of stasis, because the idea is what's gotten me here is likely to keep working, as opposed to. But that's not the case, and we know that. But our brain reacts that way. So anytime we start encountering change, and we start encountering that newness, that uncomfortable, that obstacle, our brain is like, whoa, there's something new going on here. Let's run away from it.
I always say this: if you haven't felt, the newness is feeling like a beginner again.
Right.
So if you haven't felt like a beginner again in a while, you probably haven't grown in a while.
Right.
So you got to consistently be willing to do new and to step up and step out. So yeah, that's where I usually start. Is we got to remove judgment. We got to stop beating ourselves up. First thing,
Awesome.
Instantly, and then we can move towards finding the truth. So yeah.
Awesome. And so now say we've done this, right? We've established this baseline. We're getting comfortable. We're removing some of the guilt and shame that comes inherent with beating ourselves up, and we're trying to look at things with a sense of reality. What are some of the common walls maybe that people are often throwing up, that might be worth looking at taking down, that might be worth stepping aside and getting to the thing that you actually need to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have your like your common ones, which is people will really look for any story that they can use to feel better about not moving forward. So any story that doesn't empower you is a wall.
Right.
So this guy, Sean Stevenson, he's called himself like the 3-foot chef. He's an amazing guy. He has a TED talk. He has a TED talk where he rolls out on stage, and the very first thing that he says, why would you ever believe a prediction that doesn't empower you, even if it's true?
Right. So
anything that doesn't move you forward, any belief that doesn't move you forward, any story that doesn't move you forward is a wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one is like that self-assessment of yourself. I look at it this way. Most people in their life, if your life is like an engine, like in a car, most people are driving, and if they check engine light goes on, they keep driving, right? And if something, if the low gas comes on, they just keep driving. What we need to do, I believe, a little bit more of what I try to do, and I'm not 100% at anything that I'm talking about, by the way.
Nobody is.
Yeah, nobody is. Yeah, and that's another thing, right? Everybody thinks that there are people out there that are, but there isn't. Is they keep driving instead of stopping and self-assessing, right? Okay, the oil's done. Let's fix the oil. Oh, you know what? We need to fill up with gas. Oh, our tire's flat. Let's fill it up. And we need to do that with our emotions, our psychology, our mind. And that's kind of like a self-assessment of yourself, which will turn into a habit of self-awareness, to where you can kind of trim the fat here, trim the fat there, and whatnot. So yeah, I took that from Sean, and I think that TED Talk came out a couple years ago. But yeah, any story that doesn't empower you or move you forward is a wall.
Yeah, and I love how simple that is, because we don't even necessarily need specific examples, right? Like the reality is, at a very simple level, if it is not causing you to get closer to your goals, if it's not causing you to move forward, and it's something that you're holding as a belief, that it's a wall. It's something that's holding you back.
And sometimes the wall's your friends.
Right.
Sometimes the wall's your mom. Sometimes the wall's your dad. Sometimes the wall's the people that you're surrounding yourself with, right? In your office, some of these offices are huge. And we have these people who have these big goals, and they're hanging out with people who aren't producing.
Right.
You know, so it's and you'll see it in any organization, really. So, and then they go around and there's people in the office that go around and they try to recruit people to be part of this non-producing group. So so sometimes you're involved in the wrong group, and that's your wall, right? Who you're hanging out with, who you're surrounding yourself with in your personal life and in your business life as well. So the wall can be the story, and the wall can be the people you surround yourself with, because a lot of the times the people who we surround ourselves with, we tend to adopt their stories from time to time, whether it's empowering or not, right? We'll start blaming the market. We'll start blaming the leads. We'll start blaming our system or our software or our time or our busyness or our kids. You know, it's like when I met with you, you were saying your kids were the reason you were doing this. And now 6 months later, you're telling me your kids are the reason you're not doing this.
Right.
So people's stories change. And so, yeah, walls can be beliefs, stories, people, who you surround yourself with, all that.
Interesting. So beliefs, stories, people, and this really reminds me of especially the people one, the people one especially. Have you ever read the book The Ant and the Elephant?
I haven't, but that sounds good. I got notes here too, buddy.
The premise is actually really simple and easy to understand. If I recall, that one's it's a book where it's a parable so it's a story that's delivering the point. But the key premise is that our brains, or our realities, our existence are akin to an elephant with an ant on its shoulders, and the elephant will move, but only based on the whispers of the ant. But the whispers of the ant have to be specific and consistent. And what's interesting is the ant is like our conscious active mind, the things that we are proactively doing, and the elephant is the subconscious. It's the natural flow that we get in. And when you surround yourself with people who aren't adding to the to the direction you want the ant to be telling, that it's like other ants that are influencing your subconscious to go in a different direction. It's changing your reality. It's changing your level of acceptable. Where if having all the leads that you need, all the appointments that you need, if that's the reality that you want to be heading toward, and you're surrounded by people who are struggling to find leads, who are struggling to get appointments, well, that's going to influence your perception of what reality is possible, right?
100%.
Yeah. So
100%. And I love what you said about that ant whispering. I mean, the voice, language, and the words that we decide to use. I always said this: what if everything you said came true?
Right.
Would you have a good life? Like if I followed you around all day long with a camera and listened to the words that came out of your mouth, would you have a great life if they came true? Right. Here's the thing, though: who do we talk to more than anybody else in the world?
Ourselves. So
if I talk to you the way that you talk to you, how would you feel about me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you said, that little ant in our ear, or is that voice inside of our head. We have to be very, very conscious of what we're saying to ourselves, what we're speaking out into the world, because when you speak something or when you say something to yourself, you're opening a door.
Right.
And just be super careful that's the door, because once the door is open, it is 10 times easier to walk through it. Right. You know what? Maybe there isn't, a lot of leads. Maybe the market does suck. Tink, 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 doors open. Now it's easier to walk through those, 10 times easier. Instead of saying, you know what? It's not the leads. It's me. Quit blaming the baseball bat for the reason you're not hitting home runs. Right. It's me. So I think you're right. I love that. The voice inside your head is extraordinarily important, and to take ownership of that. I love that book, though. I'm gonna read that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I read it a while back now. It's been a while since I read that one, but that's part of what I really like about some of those parable style books, is more than even other books. This is completely off topic for what we were talking about, but more than other style of books, when you got like a parable style book, you got that it tends to stick with you really well, because you remember the story. You remember the lesson of whatever the story was. So yeah, I always like those. Okay, so we've got the walls that are holding people back are very often their stories that they're telling themselves, their beliefs that they hold, and it's potentially the people that they surround themselves with. Mm-hmm. So when we get down into it, where's the, I don't know, where's the next step from here?
Where's the new like practical step, like practicality in it all? Yeah. So most people's belief. Here's the thing about real estate. If we're just going into real estate, real estate is extraordinarily simple. I mean, it is not a complex thing whatsoever. Some companies like to make you believe that it's super complex so that you buy their stuff. You know what I mean? Some people like to make it just this insane thing so that it's really just so that they feel better about not moving forward. I mean, it's the linguistics, it's knowing the language, right? That's one skill you need to have. You need to know the language of sales, understanding how to communicate and talk with people in a way that is influential, one, and two, where you can talk about just like your market intelligently. Like you understand the numbers, you understand what's going on. Hey, we're up 18% in the past 2 years. Your home could be worth way more than you think. I'm giving away free home evaluations right now. I got time tomorrow at 2. Like you got to understand the sales portion of it, right? Then you got to understand the generation of business, like cultivating business, which would be lead generation, right? Which is just the cultivation of customers. And you need to have a system that makes it easier for you to do that on a consistent daily basis. Right. And then the third thing, or the third or fourth thing I always say is you got to follow up and care.
Right.
I mean, it's not complex. So the practicality in like succeeding in real estate as a sales agent on a team or by yourself is not overtly complex. And like it's very cheap to get into. My buddy just opened up a restaurant that's $100,000 plus to launch that. You're $1,200 in, and you can start immediately, especially if you have friends and family and getting with your sphere of influence. So closing deals is not complex. But what I found is, again, is what would you need to believe in order to achieve what it is that you want to achieve?
Right.
That's the question. What would you need to believe? Majority of our beliefs is we've modeled we've modeled people in our life that we admire, or we've modeled people in our life that we've grown up with, parents, brother, sister, friends that we grew up with, and we've adherently like just modeled through our past experiences, and we've never consciously looked at what do I need to believe to have the quality of life that I want? What do I need to believe in order to have the quality of business that I want? So for me, I do this belief exercise where I just write down beliefs. Like I have a bunch of stories that I have, like I only fail if I give up, and I don't ever give up. If I don't know, I go. Because by going and moving forward, it's going to let me know pretty quick whether I'm on the right path or not. But just sitting still does nothing. So I do that belief exercise where we go through, and it's like, what do I need to believe to achieve this? So that's something practical. And then what I do is it's something that you need to say over and over consistently. And something that you need to read over and over consistently, and something that I put them up. Like for me, I write all my goals, and I write all my my beliefs up on my I used to look weird. My friends would come over back when I lived in this duplex and I was just starting this whole stuff, is I would have them written up on my mirror, and they're like, "You're weird, dude." I'm like, "I am weird." And now I'm like, I'm cool with being weird. So I write them up on my mirror in my bathroom and whatnot. So I do that belief. What would you need to believe in order to move forward? And then what if everything you said came true? How would you speak to yourself and to others? Those are all actual practical things. Like I don't look at it as this woo thing.
Absolutely.
I tell this story of these two guys that I was consulting for. They found out about me. I don't know how. They said, "Hey, we're looking to do some stuff, and we wanted to kind of hire you and figure out what it is that you can do to help us." And I said, "Absolutely, no problem." So we go to sit down, and one of the guys sits down, but before the other guy sits down, he stops me and he goes, "Hey, before we get started in all of this, I just want to let you know I'm not into your whole rah-rah stuff." I'm like, okay. You ever said something, and after you said it, you were kind of like, "Yeah, I said that." So something from inside me was just like, "What do you mean rah-rah?" And he's like, "Well, all your inspiration stuff." I said, "Did I say something that inspired you?" And he's like, No, all your positivity stuff." And I looked at him and I said, positivity is a strategy.
Right.
If I could succeed, be fulfilled, have an amazing real estate business, amazing real estate company, everyone around me could be financially free. I could take care of my family, my loved ones, my community, and be depressed, I'd be depressed. Right? And be negative, I'd be negative, because negativity takes far less courage than positivity.
Right.
Negativity takes far less uncertainty than being positive in a negative situation. So I use positivity as a strategy. I use these beliefs as strategies to move forward. You know, I would say positivity is not rainbows and sunshines. It's looking at the root of the problem, ripping it out and saying, okay, what do I need to do to really fix this?
Right.
I need to change my beliefs. I need to change who here's my thing. I do this. When you hire somebody or your next assistant or whatever, what I want you to do is I want you to pretend like you love them to get something out of them.
Right.
Just pretend like you love them, be there for them, support them, just fake it.
Right.
Just strictly to get something out of them. And what you'll end up doing is actually falling in love with them.
Right. Yeah. It's such an interesting thing. It really is. I don't even know how to go into this part clearly, but so I think there can be a problem with the what some people internalize as the fake it till you make it idea, but there's also a lot of benefit, I think, if you do it the right way, where if you understand, I'm going to lead with my exterior actions. I'm going to lead with how I'm acting, knowing that it's going to pull along my emotional reality too, as opposed to I'm going to put on a face and just ignore the problem, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. You can't have, 150%. That makes sense. You can't, it's like, you can't put like Febreze on a turd. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like and call it a flower.
Right.
Like, you can't have, I know a lot of people that have conviction with no action back there. You know what I mean? They're convicted that they are the best ever, the best that's ever lived. They're going to take over the world, and they take zero to no action. Literally, the only action they take is with their vocal cords.
Right.
Yeah. So 100%, like there needs to be movement. There needs to be a belief in yourself. There needs to be actions that back up those beliefs. And that would be like the next step, right? Is what actions would we need to take for these beliefs to be true?
Right.
You know,
Right.
You know, So I totally agree. Like the fake it till you make it thing. Yeah, there needs to be substance there. You know, conviction without substance is kind of like delusion at some level, I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really is. The difference is, I mean, it goes back to I think part of what you initially said is what you're doing, and everybody can only really, I think, do this internally to really see what they're doing at any given time, because I think you can do technically a similar action and be doing different things depending on how you're approaching it. If you're acting in one way but still holding to the previous belief and not allowing the action to pull the belief in a new direction, then that's like the just putting on a face. If you're acting in a new way and allowing the results, allowing the change, allowing that momentum to pull you along with it, that's the powerful idea that you're talking about here. Yeah.
Boom, you hit it. Yeah. The actions and the belief need to be aligned.
Exactly.
For sure.
The one of the other things that I wanted to bring up, because this is something that's been really helpful for me too, because I'm completely with you. It's positivity and a positive outlook is really, it can be a very systematic process mentally. You can consistently do this, and again, not saying, hey, you could do this perfectly, but I mean, you can move from being in a negative mindset to being in a positive mindset with I think with following some questions and thinking through things. So you mentioned the what would you need to believe in order to achieve what you want, right? And one of the questions that I've always that I've seen people do to kind of move themselves mentally through this process is so looking at it this way, is there someone that I can look to that like validates this? Like, is there someone that I can look to as proof that, it is easy to get leads, or there are plenty of leads? Is there somebody that I can look to that at least can let me say, yes, this is possible? Right.
Yeah. It's like that 4-minute mile. Once the guy broke it, everybody else broke it in the same year, and it hadn't been broken for however many years.
Exactly.
Yeah. 100%. Like, who could I model after? Who could I find that's already doing it? Yeah.
Right.
Even a lot of people need that permission. Yeah.
Even if it's only like, even if it's not like I'm going to go and follow their method, even if it's just, I see that this reality exists. I could see it. So I can, exactly like you mentioned, I can give myself permission to believe this because I see it, because I see somebody else doing it. And the same thing with the opposite, where if you have a belief that's limiting, asking yourself, is this belief true 100% of the time? Are there cases where this belief isn't true?
Well, yeah, 100%. But what I found is, like, we have an innate ability to want to be right about whatever it is that we believe. So our brain has this thing. So if in our minds we're like, it's the lead problem, it's the market problem, it's the whatever problem, our brain becomes a heat seeker for every single thing that validates that belief.
Right.
So it'll go out and it'll grab things and it'll bring it in and it'll validate them all. And then it'll find people too to bring in, and they start the VSG, the victim support group, and they have these people now that validate it. So the same goes though for an empowering belief. If you have an empowering belief that you truly believe in, I always said, you know a winner because they have these strong beliefs. They take massive action. They may look stupid at the beginning. People make fun of them. People like to talk about them, but I always see them, right? They'll come in the office. I'll see them in here. They'll be brand new. They'll be young, but they are hungry. They have strong beliefs, and they go out and they find every single thing they need to believe, right? Their brain becomes a heat seeker for things to validate or to be right about the fact that they say, I'm going to be the best. Right. So, and in knowing that, if you always consistently want to be right, just make sure that those beliefs are empowering, because that's what the brain does. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, you get in a fight with somebody and you automatically remember everything you don't like about them or that they've ever done bad. Or
it is one of the worst things when that happens.
The brain is a heat taker, man.
Oh man, it's one of those things that I always that I do. I especially despise. Like about when it goes and happens that way, of this person that you love, that when you get into that negative mindset, it's like all of that goes away. And for some reason, all you could think about is the stupid, petty stuff that happened. Because you're exactly right. It's so hard to get out of that spiral. So you have to actively stop and be like, no, I love this person.
Yeah. It's when gratitude and appreciation disappear.
Right.
That can rise up, and we can remember all the things, because it's the human brain, right? That's why I think the heart's so much more powerful than the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. So we've got some really powerful stuff. We've got the beliefs, finding the beliefs, basically like go on a shopping spree for beliefs that actually get you where you want, right?
Yes, write them down, read them every single day, even if you don't think they're making any difference whatsoever. This isn't a thing that like you do once and all of a sudden you're incredible at it. And here's what we don't realize is those little things done over time for like a year, 2 years, just reading the little beliefs, they compound on each other. Right? They compound. And then one day you wake up, it's like things in life happen slowly, then all of a sudden.
Right.
So just write them down, what you would need to believe, and just read them. Even if that's all you do. Even if that's the only thing you get from this, is write down empowering beliefs about yourself, about your future, and whatnot, and just read them every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
For like
just do that.
Just do that, and watch how your life changes, or watch how your business changes. It's crazy.
Yeah, one of the people that I think is actually a great example of this exact thing. Scott Adams, the creator and artist behind Dilbert. He specifically talks about this. He talks about affirmations, positive affirmations, and he went into it from the standpoint of being kind of that mindset of, this is just rah. This is, I don't believe this, but he went about it scientifically, sort of, I'm going to test this. I'm going to test this as a hypothesis, and not even believing the things that he was saying affirmation wise, consistently doing it was netting him the result. And in times, not even in logical ways. Like he, one of the examples that he gave was like, and I don't know. I don't know if I would ever advise like testing it quite this way, but he had like a test that he had just never studied for or never did quite enough for. But he used affirmations to decide that he was going to get this specific score and got it. And I don't know, he's got lots of anecdotal evidence for it. But it's a really interesting thing that even people who are in that mindset of, I think this is a whole bunch of horse stuff, will still be able to get results if you actually use it and feed it into your subconscious. So yeah, powerful stuff.
And what I found too is a lot of people, it seems too simple.
Right.
So if it's that simple, there's no way it could be that simple. So they kind of dismiss it.
Right.
People tend to dismiss simplicity.
Yeah.
Which usually if it's simple, it may not look very deep, but you do it for a long time. Yeah. That's a cool story about Delbert. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some cool comments coming in. I'm gonna show some of these real quick. So we've got just a lot of people who have come in. We've got Robert, who says that he's here from Denver. How's it going, Robert?
What up, Robert?
We got Randy a while back. He had mentioned you were right. I forget exactly what we were talking about there.
Randy Hart's the man.
But Randy's been participating with us.
Yeah.
We've got Vicky here. We've got James. So James had said, it's such a pleasure to have Dustin's leadership and energy available to us on a daily basis. This must be somebody in your office.
James is killing it in Kingman. He's incredible.
Awesome. So cool to see people getting results, learning some of this information.
Miracle Morning, great book. Megan. Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah. Anybody who hasn't already, check that book out. It's a great look at starting your day off well. And then Tiffany, we've got compounding actions equals boom, 10 times what? Monkey block?
Oh, she's got covered ears. Block out the naysayers. What's up?
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Absolutely. So yeah, thanks guys for coming in and interacting. It's always better the more people that we see getting in here and interacting, showing that we actually have people, that we're not just talking into a void. It makes this.
What's up, Charlie?
It makes this process so much better. So Charlie says he's known you since kindergarten. What he's been doing for our community and just his all around positive attitude has been amazing. So you've got much love coming your way, Dustin. People
appreciate it. Thanks for the love, Charlie. You're the man, buddy.
People like what you've got to say. Oh, I apparently double clicked that. There we go. Okay, so we've got some really good steps that we've gone through. So we're pulling down the walls. The walls are mainly they're the people. They're the stories that we tell ourselves that are preventing us from going where we want to go. In terms of actions, next steps of kind of where we're going from there, we're going on a shopping spree for the beliefs that actually will move us forward. We're internalizing those. We're finding them. We're writing them down. We're reading them every day. Okay, and that's like our simple key action. What do we do after there? What does it look like from here?
We have to be willing to become vulnerable. I think when you step out to be vulnerable, it can feel like weakness inside.
Right.
It can really feel like you're weak. It's that, like what I said in the beginning, you got to be willing to look stupid, become a beginner again. You got to be willing to be vulnerable. But if you've ever watched somebody be vulnerable, or you've seen somebody speak and they were extraordinarily vulnerable with you or in front of people, it actually looks like courage.
Right.
And all courage is being scared to do something and doing it anyway. Right. I mean, none of this stuff is new stuff.
Right.
But it's being scared and doing it anyway. So you've got to be willing to become vulnerable, and you've got to be willing to be a little bit scared and just doing it anyways. And you got to get in a habit of doing that consistently.
Right.
Over and over again. Like the more hard conversations you have, the better you get at them. The more you step outside your comfort zone, willing to be vulnerable, the more you have of them. I forget who said this, and I want to find it and quote it, because this is what I've really helped me live a lot of my life in stepping outside of my comfort zone. Faith, I forget who says this. I'm going to find it. Faith is knowing one of two things in uncertain situations. When you step into the darkness of uncertainty, faith is knowing one of two things. One, that you're going to have a platform to stand on, or two, you're going to learn to fly.
Nice.
Right. So you got to have faith in whatever it is that you're doing, because the uncertainty has to be there or growth won't be present.
Right.
And then after that, we need to have our action steps. So I always ask the question, like, what actions would you need to take in order to get to where you want to be? And or, like you said earlier, who do you need to get in contact with that can help you do this? What type of information do we need to find? What strategies do we need to use? You know, you can go to conferences, seminars. You could watch this show. You could, you know, there's so much curriculum on really anything that you want to do in life. Like, I mean, look what, I mean, he's unreal, but I mean, Elon Musk, I mean, he's building rockets from like reading books. Like, if you heard his story, like this guy read books and taught himself how to read rockets or build rockets. I'm not saying that anyone can do that, but he self-taught himself due to the amount of information that was available to him.
Right.
So the information is there. And then you know, I'm not a big logistics guy, because I think this, when the beliefs are there, you're surrounded by yourself with people. You got to know the target that you want to get at, right? Clarity. You got to get clear on what it is that you want, up the ante, and find a compelling target of where you want to be, exactly where you want to be.
Right.
And then you need to have beliefs that support that new target. And then you need to have a peer group that supports that new target. Right. And then from there, the logistics of it become pretty easy.
Right.
And that's creating a plan. Like, you know, what is it that you would need to do to get this where? Who would you need to? Questions control focus. You know that. I think some of the books you've said in that. So the better the question, the better the answer. So at that point, we're asking what kind of good quality questions do we need to ask in order to get a game plan put together to where we know what actions that we need to take. What
kind of quality questions? Yeah, that's and it's so key, because you're exactly right. You pointed it out earlier. I had actually the way that I was asking the question of myself would have been seeking the wrong answers. And you're exactly right. The questions, they make such a big difference. Not even so, like just one of the people that I follow, he talks about doing this exercise every once in a while, where you go through the process of you may have in your mind something that feels like a more realistic goal, like doubling your business, or maybe that doesn't even feel realistic, but going in these incremental levels that this feels doable. I can logically see how it would get from one to the next. But he consistently talks about how he'll ask himself just extreme questions. Like, if I was going to 200 times my business this next year, what might that look like? What would that business have to look like? What would that look like? Because in doing that, you may not get to the 200 times, but you start answering the questions that paint the picture that make it a lot more likely to get there than anything below it. So
Chris?
What's that?
Is that Chris?
No, that's actually Ryan Daniel Moran is who I learned that one from.
That. Like, asking questions like, how could you get your 10-year goal done in 6 months?
Yes.
Like, crazy stuff. What happens though is it gets things moving. That question creates a whole different mindset, which I really enjoy. That's cool, man. I love that.
Yeah. So asking the right questions is such a powerful thing. And what's great about it is it's no skin off your back, right? Like when you're going through the world of just entertaining ideas and you know where you're setting your mind, it's just,
I agree with that.
There's nothing to lose, nothing whatsoever.
No skin off your back. That's a great state. That's profound. That's amazing. Yeah, there isn't. And if you're willing to ask different, new, quality, high level questions, it's just you're right. What's the worst that can happen?
Right. And it's amazing how many of these things, like when you start asking the questions of how can I do this, or how would I do this if I wanted to do this, your brain really does start coming up with answers. Like as a, for instance, I'm going to reveal one to you guys, and you guys are going to get a kick out of it because it's fairly meta. As of right now, I've been looking at how can I consistently grow an audience using my skills and my talents without having to spend a bunch of money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked that question, and what I came up with is, well, I could do a Facebook Live show where I bring on people who happen to have an audience that their audience would potentially find value in the conversations that we'd have, and consistently find more and more people that have audiences. And by doing so, I will also grow mine. I'll give them a platform to talk about cool things and you know, spread some good information to their audience, my audience, and I grow my audience at the same time. And all I have to do is talk to people.
Yep. Without that question, this show happened from a question.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And to, you know, proof is in the pudding. Right now we have live 23 people. The first 2 to 3 episodes that I didn't have anybody live watching with me. Anybody. Yeah. I was doing it into the void, just talking to the people that I was talking to. I think
that's awesome.
I think it was the 4th episode that I did this where I actually started getting people watching live. We are now fairly consistently doing at least 1,000 views every time we do one of these episodes without any extra promotion.
I can't wait till that says 500,000 live.
I know, right? I know. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So and it's really cool when you ask yourself these questions, you can really achieve anything that you really want to. So it's it really is. It's I keep going back to that one because I really like how powerful that one is. Asking the right questions.
It's important to ask quality questions when you don't want to.
Right.
To ask quality questions when everything's going against you, right? Those days where just everything hits you in the face, like you get kicked in the teeth 10 times, you don't feel like asking quality questions, you don't feel like doing the things you should be doing. It's asking quality questions then too, because what we tend to do is we'll ask quality questions when it's comfortable and it's easy and we feel like it, and then when it gets hard we'll be like, why is this happening to me? And we're like, wow, that's not so it's doing it consistently and mostly when we don't want to.
Right. Yeah, there's one story I wanted to bring up because I think people, again, going back to the ant and the elephant, people remember the stories, right?
Yeah.
So especially what you mentioned of the if you know the vulnerability is often when people face fear and do it anyway, right? And so one of the things that my kids have been practicing lately is skateboarding, and my daughter who is 4 has been really excited about skateboarding because my son has been doing it. So we've been going out and we've been practicing. And the first night that we started practicing, she was doing a great job. And one of the times though, she got up on the board. She had I was showing her how she could balance and then how to bring her foot up and go with the board. Well, one of the times the board came out from under her, and she landed on her butt hard. Like really hard, and she was really in pain and hurting, and it was at that point that when she got back up, she said, I don't want to keep doing this right now. And I said, what I told her is, I said, right now is actually when we need to do it again. We need to do it again right now.
100%.
Because if you don't, what you're teaching yourself that when it gets hard, when it starts to hurt, that's when you need to stop. And that's not how we're going to end this. We're going to end this with you facing that fear, getting past it and getting back on the board and having another successful run. Because she had done it tons of times. It wasn't anything about the ability. It was 100% just, it got scary. And, and so she did, she got back up and she was super proud of herself. And, it's one of those powerful things that my hope is that I'm able to help my kids go into life knowing how to face fear and these kinds of things, because learning some of this stuff as an adult has been a much more difficult struggle to go through. Right.
Yeah. 100%, man. 150%. I wish, I wish I had this information in this as a child. I would be much further than I am today. I didn't get it till around 25. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, super powerful stuff. Good job, here.
Dad.
Thank you. But so we're I think we're going to be moving into a section where I've got just a little bit more rapid fire questions. Before I do that, is there anything that you feel like we're missing in kind of this bigger topic that you want to cover, or should we go ahead and move into that section?
No, I mean, if we had like 10 hours, we could really rock this thing. No,
I'm sure we could talk forever.
No, we're good. Yeah, we're good. You know, the last thing, the only other thing that I would say before, just so I could get it out, is I think with all of this, you can have all of this, but if you don't have energy, you got to start using energy as a strategy as well. And the most powerful energy is gratitude.
Right.
Going into every day, just grateful for the opportunity to just do what you're about to do.
Absolutely.
Right. So energy I believe it's number one, because you have all these goals, all this stuff that you want to do, all these things you want to accomplish. You don't have any energy to do it.
Right.
And then when you create a story that says I'm tired all the time.
Right.
So energy outside of that, and then let's rock it.
Awesome. Okay, so as we're moving into this quick fire sort of section, it is also your opportunity. Anybody that is listening live right now, if you have any questions, if you want us to touch on anything, if you want us to clarify anything that we've talked about, go ahead and put it down into the comments so that we can talk about that. I have this opportunity as well, and I might call you guys out on this slightly if you're ready for some real honest conversation. So I have yet to have anybody take me up on this, and I believe it's because most people are generally afraid to do so. I just dropped a link down in the comments that lets you come on live and ask your question and talk to us if you would like to. So you can do this from a phone. You could do this from the computer. You can come and join us. You can talk to us and you can ask your question. If anybody has been listening to this and wants an opportunity to face down a little bit of fear and just do something that's no real risk, but get you out of your comfort zone, go to that link that I just sent you. You can come into our lobby. We'll pull you in. Again, you can do this from your phone. You can do it from your computer. Just go through that process, and we'll bring you in, bring you live on the show, and talk to you. But in the meantime, if you have a question, you aren't able to come on live for whatever reason, you can also feel free to drop a comment below. But I will go ahead and start my questions, and everybody else can put yours in, and we'll deal with them as well. So okay, awesome. So what are this is really it's a technical question, just a simple one. But what are some of your favorite tools? What are some of your favorite tools in business that help you get things done? And to put this in a little bit of context, this could be anything from software, technology. I've had people mention Post-it notes. I've had people mention all sorts of things. Whatever the tools are that you feel like this is something that without this, I would have a hard time getting done what I need to get done.
Oh man, I would hate to call it tools. I wouldn't call them tools, and I'm probably not going to give you the answer you're looking for on this, because I'm not a huge, I'm not like a logistics guy or like trying. I think for you, or for like what you're doing right now, I think Facebook is one of the biggest tools. Right. You were talking about how cheap certain things are. I think Facebook is building. If you own a business, building an audience on Facebook is a tool that you truly need to do, or truly need to look into. At least if you have a business today and you're not trying to build an audience online, I think you're doing yourself a disservice for the future. So one, Facebook. Second thing, Instagram, depending on your business. I use that as a tool. Let me look at like whatever the stuff I have on my phone. I'm not huge into stuff. I mean, I'm not huge into, I use my notes a lot.
Right.
So like the other day, I had to make this, if you can see in here, it says, don't talk, only listen. I had to make that as a note to myself the other day.
Part of what I
use the note sections a lot.
Part of what I love about this section, this sort of quick fire and talking about these sorts of things is you get to see in some ways not just all the technical things, but what I love about that one that you just brought up is it's a very real example of a way to implement something else that you just said. Now again, I'm with you. Most people they don't necessarily need the example in order to be able to go out and do something that'll work for them. But every once in a while, those things are just like, oh yeah. That's a really easy way that I could remind myself of things. I could keep them in my notes on my phone, so I have it on hand. So that's part of why I like these sorts of things.
Another good one that I use is Pocket.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Pocket.
I have.
It's where you can just I go through and I'll find an article that I really like. I use the saved version in Facebook where you can save the article, save the video or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, I use the notes. Use the notes a lot.
Cool. So yeah, so Pocket, for anybody who's watching that doesn't know what it is, it's like a way for you to like dump articles and things that you want to read later, and then have a good place to go back and read through them and reference them. So it's like when you get that thing that looks distracting coming up in your Facebook and you don't have the time to read it right now, but you might want to read it later. That's where it's a good fit for. So awesome. Totally. Who are some of the people who have most influenced you?
Okay, so I got Debbie Ford. She writes a book called Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Brene Brown. Brene Brown's incredible. These are authors. People close to me. My mother, obviously,
Right.
she's really taught me how relationships have an incredible impact on your life, and
Right.
you really are. The quality of your life is your relationships, and how to really give outside yourself. So she's been super impactful for me. My buddy Kyle Weiloge in real estate, Kevin Kaufman, love that guy. Like I said, I was a fan of that dude. I was watching Short Sale Power Hour back in the day with him. Other people that I really, really love and I follow, Tom Bilyeu right now is probably my favorite. He's the co-founder of Quest Nutrition. He is amazing. Yeah, if you haven't followed him, your obvious ones, like you have your obvious ones. You have Tim Ferriss, you have Tony Robbins, you have like all these. I'm trying to give you some that I really like in the backgrounds of things, but
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and part of why I like about hearing the people that have influenced you is for exactly the same reason. We go back to one of the walls that people have is the people that they surround themselves with, and while it's not nearly as powerful as actually literally physically surrounding yourself and being around people consistently, one of the ways that I've found that I have been able to hack my mind and open up possibilities is to surround myself with books and people who do pull you ahead and have some of those
100%.
Inspiring beliefs. So
I read a book a week.
Yeah.
Well, I don't read anymore because I did that one year. I read 52 books in a year, and that was horrible. I listen to books now. Like I think Kevin said that on his. I listen to books now. So about a book a week. You got to. And do this with books. Like I used to take every book that I read and like I'm like, all right, this is how I'm gonna live my life 100% now. Like chew up the meat and spit out the bones. Find what works for you. Not every book is an opinion.
Right. One tool that might be useful. It's actually something I've been reusing lately. Have you heard of Blinkist? Have you heard of that?
Blinkist. I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no because I don't want to lie.
Yeah, fair enough. There's another one that I've heard that I used to use too. I can't remember the name of the other one, but Blinkist, what it is it's like business and personal growth books that people take and synthesize down into like 15 minutes worth of a summary of whatever the book is. So you've got like a written version, but also audio versions. And so I really like it as a tool to really quickly try and see what's the crux of this book about. Do I want to dive in deeper on this book? But also it's a really great way to revisit topics of books that you do like and just remind yourself of some of those principles that are worth revisiting as well. But I
love that.
Blinkist.
Mentor box. Yeah,
Blinkist
exactly. Mentor box. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of cool people. And so on that same sort of plane, what about and we are 2 minutes past. How do you have time to talk for a little bit?
Good time. Yeah, my headset's dying a little bit, but I'm going to charge this one.
Fair enough.
I don't have my plug-in.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. So, what books specifically, if you had to recommend, and let's say if you had to pick like 3 books, what would be the top 3? And then from there, feel free to diverge.
Okay, so a good anything by John Wooden is amazing. Yep. Yeah, he was one of the first guys I really dived into, and he was just be a really good person.
Yeah,
and
John Wooden is great.
Yeah, Psycho-Cybernetics.
Oh, that was good.
I believe it's Maxwell Maltz.
Right.
Talks about identity. That one's an incredibly good one. Gosh, one more. I love this question. I love questions that make me think. One more book, if I had to give it. Gosh. James Bovard, he's putting me one that I gave him. Mindset's a good one, of course.
Part of what I like about questions where you do have to limit it at least a bit is it really does. It forces you to think through some level of a qualification of like, where do I feel the important change would be?
Yeah, probably Dark Side of the Light Chaser by Debbie Ford. Yeah,
that one. The Light Chaser.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm writing these down too.
Cool.
I always gotta have new books to read and stuff.
Yeah.
The Light Chaser. Awesome. And I know you mentioned that one earlier when you mentioned her. So
Yeah.
she's somebody that has influenced you, but also good book to read too. So awesome. Any others that you'd like to throw in there as options? So those are your top three. Any others that you want to throw in?
100%. Like I'm big on autobiographies. I think autobiographies are really, really cool because you can find, it's a story. Like you said,
Right.
we're attached to stories. Human beings really get, we love stories while we watch movies.
Right.
But I think that one's really good. If you want another one that's good, that gives a whole different perspective on business, Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. He does a TED Talk on movement. On how to make a movement. Henry Ford's My Life and Work is great. Anything by Ryan. I love the way Ryan Holiday writes. You already mentioned his stuff.
Yeah, Ryan Holiday is great, and he's got a nice. He sort of changed gears slightly, like later in his career. The first book that I read of his was Trust Me, I'm Lying, and that's much more of a tactical sort of how you can leverage basically the way modern media works, but also some of the dark side of it. So that one, but now he's moved into a lot more of this philosophy and Stoic philosophy and that kind of stuff. It's been really cool and interesting to see with him. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, anything on Stoic is, and Stoicism in general is awesome. So yeah,
awesome, great stuff. Okay, so any more books that you want to throw in there?
No, you're good. We're good.
Okay, cool.
We could do this for like 10 hours. So
absolutely. Okay, so cool. So we didn't have any more questions come in, but we do have people that are just excited about what's going on. Priscilla, I think, is saying maybe we're on fire, you're on fire, something's on fire. Priscilla. If there's a fire and you need help, you should call 911. Just like we've got Scott who's enjoyed the content, says amen. And then just like you have pointed out before, James is excited and said Mindset is a book that you recommended to him, right? So
yeah.
Okay, cool. So for everybody listening, if say for whatever reason they've lost the rest of this episode, and right now is all that's left. If people, as a result of watching this, if they can only walk away with three key ideas, what would be the top three takeaways that you would hope somebody would take away from this episode, from watching this with you?
Can I just give you one?
I would love it. One's even better.
And this hit me this year. We had an agent here at our office. She's an incredible human being. She was like the mom of our office. She was everything. Like when you think of a good person and you think of how you want to look at yourself and how you want to be probably perceived, she was the it, right? She created charities in her city. She gave back to foster children in her city. She fostered children in her city. She really was an incredible human being, a 10 million plus producer by herself, 15 million plus producer for consistent years, time over time again. Her clients loved her to death. And I'm not going to share her name because I didn't ask her if I could tell this story. But her hip was hurting her. And so she put it off. She finally goes in and she goes in to get her hip looked on. She gets it looked on and they say, you need a hip replacement. So she's like, gosh, she's going to have to be off her feet. She cares for her clients. She has someone watch her business, and she goes in for a hip replacement and gets it done, all rocking, hits PT, physical therapy, gets it rocking. And after 6 months, she's still on her walker and she's still not healing right. So she goes back into physical therapy. They say, you need more physical therapy. Still hurting her. And a year goes by, she goes into a different doctor. And in 3 minutes, the doctor looks at her and says, you don't have a hip problem. You have a cancer problem.
Jeez.
You have bone cancer. And so for the past year, she's been going through, the process of chemotherapy and different things and whatnot. And I was able to sit, me and my friend Lisa Elliott, who works with me here, she's our broker here, who's a dear friend of mine who I love to death. We went and visited her, and to see her and to see the strength and to see her smile and to see everything that she's gone with, to continue to carry that strength at that moment in life. I've heard it 100 times, but life is a gift.
Right.
And we did nothing to deserve this life. Nothing.
Right.
And to sit across from her, I never had seen it more clear in my life of how much of a gift it truly is.
Right.
And how grateful she was for certain things that she had in her life and certain things that I was complaining about on a daily basis. She gave me something that day.
Right.
And she gave me this perception of how incredible of a gift it is, and what we do with it is up to us. So be grateful every day. It's not hard to do it. It's not easy to do it 100% of the time, but be grateful, because you never know how long. And this sounds cliche, but cliches are only cliches when they're not lived. When they're implemented, they're life changing. They shake your world.
Right.
So there's anything that I leave you with, be grateful. Betty, I love you. You're amazing. And she gave me something special that day. So that's what I would leave you with, is to enjoy your life. Look at it as a gift every single day you wake up. Do something beautiful with it. You know, serve the people around you, care about the people around you. You're not going to be perfect. Don't try to be perfect. Love the people around you hard. Give it your best. Because that's really all that we're ever doing, is just giving it our best all the time. Surround yourself with people who love and appreciate you and who will push you. There's a difference between people who make you feel good and people who make you better. Right. Being better doesn't always feel good.
Right.
And enjoy this bad boy.
Absolutely.
It's as you know, you live in Vegas right now, man, and it can be taken at any moment. And just enjoy your life. And life isn't all about business, and life isn't all about money. Life isn't also all about taking time off. Life isn't all about everything. Find what I love. Kevin posted a video the other day. Have some counterbalance and just be grateful.
Absolutely. Powerful stuff. I think it's a fantastic fantastic thing to remember, and especially in light of some of the stuff going on right now and in this part of history that we're living. It's it can go away at any moment, and that's why live any other way than grateful, right?
100%. Yeah. And prayers
Absolutely.
prayers and thoughts for people in Las Vegas and for the victims and everything, man. That's I can only imagine what you're going through. We're feeling it here in Havasu. Like I said to you earlier, I can only imagine what you guys are feeling out there. So much love to you guys and everything you got going. So you guys are uniting. I seen like $10 million almost raised by the city.
Yeah.
Oh, man. GoFundMe. That's amazing.
People have come out in strides for sure to come together as a community and to help those who have been hurt. And it's if there's anything good that's come out of it, it's at least seeing some of the goodness in humanity in light of in stark contrast to some of the worst evil. So there's been some powerful stuff going on. But thank you. So as we are wrapping up here, one thing I always want to give the opportunity. Anybody who's watching this, anybody who's enjoyed this content, where should people connect with you, Dustin? Where should people, if they want to dive in further, if they want to explore any of this deeper, how should people kind of pursue that further with you?
Yeah, DustinRunyon.com. Sign up for my my newsletter. I promise I won't spam you or anything. Got some cool stuff coming. Writing a book right now too, so that will be coming here in the next year. Find me on Instagram, just Dustin J. Runyon. Find me on Facebook. You probably tagged me on there. If you didn't, I'll put it on there. So just Facebook, Instagram, and DustinRunyon.com. Got a lot of stuff coming out here, and I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great having you on, and all of those links and whatnot, I'm going to get them from Dustin, and we'll update the post to make sure that everything's tagged, so you guys can stay in contact with him. You can connect with him and follow the great information and stuff that he's doing in this world to make it a better place, make people have more exciting, better lives, and being grateful in the process, right?
Yeah, absolutely, my friend.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks again. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and let you hop off for now. And one quick question. I always have to ask this question. Who do you know who would be a good fit to come onto this show? Who would be somebody else that you can think of that would be a great fit to come on, join this show, and share some good information with the real estate community?
There is, you know what? I'll do this. I'll send you 3 people that'll be fire.
Even better. Even better. Thanks so much, Dustin. That'll be perfect.
And I'll make a warm welcome for you too. So I'll let them know.
Even better. Even better.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Dustin.
All right, brother. Take care.
See you the next time. All right, guys. So as we're wrapping up now, that was a fantastic episode with Dustin. Go ahead, make sure to drop some likes, drop some hearts. Tell Dustin how much we appreciate the content that he just provided, and even more than just doing that. Don't just drop the likes. Actually have this make a meaningful change in your life, and take action on this information. Leverage this. Be grateful, but also don't beat yourself up in the process. Nobody's perfect. None of us do this 100% correct all the time. Before you guys get going, I do have something for you. So one of the things that I found real estate agents tend to struggle with is what that process looks like of systematically following up with leads after they've been generated. So there's all sorts of strategies. Dustin and I even mentioned that while we were talking here on the show. There's all sorts of strategies to be able to generate leads. But that process of following up with them, doing that consistently, doing that well can be difficult. So I put together a system that's completely free for you that you can get access to today called the Ultimate Lead Machine. All that you have to do to get that today completely for free is drop a comment below that says lead tips. If you happen to be listening to this on the podcast, the other thing that you can do is you can also send a text message to 444-999 with the message lead tips. That's LEADTIPS. One word, lead tips to 444-999, and we'll get you access to that. So again, that's the Ultimate Lead Machine. It teaches you that whole process for how you can follow up with leads effectively, so you can get good results from every lead that you generate. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Regardless of if you want that, if you're interested in that, I really do greatly appreciate you coming on, listening to us. Allowing us the chance to talk about some of this information, taking the time to hopefully better your business, better your life, and trusting us enough to be able to give you some content to that end. So thank you so much. You don't know how much it means to us, how grateful I am. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys on the next show. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Growth Hacker Show. Remember, done is better than perfect. To turn the marketing ideas and tactics you just learned into real growth for your real estate business, visit us at realestategrowthhackers.com. If you like this episode, consider sharing it with another real estate professional who could benefit from the information. Or maybe you'd like to subscribe to the show to never miss an episode. You can leave a rating or review on iTunes with your biggest takeaway, helping this show to reach and help more people just like you. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.